Hi folks, it's a very beautiful day today, and so I am deciding to go on ahead and walk. Now I've walked this same route over and over and over again. It's somewhat boring, but at least it's exercise. Anyway, I'm not going to be talking necessarily about my weight loss journey, but I am going to be talking about a subject that kind of interferes with my success. I'm going to be talking about thyroidism. Okay, now, as I had said in my one video, I suffer from hypothyroidism, which means my thyroid is sluggish. It doesn't regulate normally, and I have to take a supplement to keep it normal. Now, let's explain a little bit about what the thyroid's function is, and we'll go from there. So, the thyroid is located right here, and it's shaped something similar to a butterfly or bow tie. And it is your regulator. It regulates blood circulation, digestion, metabolism, the nervous system, your brain function. I mean, the thyroid is like, I would say the heart of the function, even though, of course, we've got the heart itself. But anyway, without a thyroid, if you're not taking supplements, you're just the same as lying on the couch permanently, like an invalid or something. So, having hypothyroidism is somewhat a problematic situation. Now, for years, I always felt like just down physically, not emotionally or mentally, even though it's another thing that the thyroid helps with is mood, believe it or not. But physically, I would be down, seriously down. I couldn't even find the strength to get up to go do anything. I didn't feel like it. And in 2014, well, let's go back a little further. Probably like in 2006, 2007, somewhere around in that area, I went to one doctor, and he checked my throat and said I had a goiter, and tried to put me on thyroid med. Well, I didn't bother to do follow-up or anything, and shortly after, he went out of business anyway. So, fast forwarding to 2014, I went and saw a practitioner, and they gave me a test, and it showed that I had a sluggish thyroid. So they got me started on thyroid med and worked with me until they got me pretty stable. And then, like, I was still suffering from lethargy, so they'd done a further test and found out I also had anemia. So I had to start doing iron as well. But when I had gotten straightened up with the thyroid med and the iron, which just here lately of this year, my iron level has finally started to level out, made a very big difference in my energy levels. But now, the one problem about hypothyroidism is You're moody, very moody. You seem to keep a very high appetite. You struggle with weight. You struggle with strength, with energy. Even when it comes to toilet time, you think you may have a bout of constipation. And all it simply is, your bowels are barely moving. Because the thyroid also regulates the function of muscles. So here I was suffering greatly with hardly being able to lose weight, having a large appetite because I kept trying to find something to give me energy. It was a natural response of my body because it was desperate to get moving. It didn't know any other way. And a lot of times on certain days, I would feel heavier than a rock, which in part also had to do with the anemia. But I would feel so much like a rock, I would have to literally lay down on the couch. I almost felt like I was hyperventilating. So, how does the thyroid come in play with weight loss and workout? Well, for one, if you've got a normal functioning thyroid, of course your muscles are going to be fluid. Your circulatory system will be fluent. Your nervous system will be on charge. Everything will be normal, you know. Your metabolism will stay at a steady rate where it's continuously burning energy properly, right? And even hyperthyroidism, there's problems with that as well. But most of that comes from having so much energy that you can't burn it enough. But that's something I'm not really 100% familiar with. But, so hypothyroidism comes in play as well. Because, like I said, it controls digestion, metabolism, circulatory, nervous system, all that. So, when it comes down to it, it's one thing to have anemia, low iron, because that sends energy into your blood, you know, into your muscles through the blood. And that's another subject for another time. But the thyroid itself, when it's not functioning properly, you run into this situation where you don't feel like working out. You don't feel like doing anything. You really don't. You get into the doldrums even, where it affects your mood as well. It just causes a major problem. But I have found one thing for sure, especially when my medicines are right. But even when they're off, or even before I knew that I had a sluggish thyroid, and it's something that you have to force. The thyroid responds greatly to exercise. It responds greatly. But if it's sluggish, you've got two choices. Either you go on ahead and you just lay around eating all the food you can to try to get just enough energy to even sit up, or you push yourself out the door and you start doing it. Once you start working out, exercising, walking most generally is the best, because even heavy cardio drains you fast. But walking is the most regular, useful form of exercise that works awesome with the thyroid. And once you get started, it's best that you really don't let up, because if you let up just once, just one day, all that you've gained from the exercise, you know, the little bit of energy that you've had, you lose it. And as far as it goes with the diet, I have also found out that even though I need the proteins, because once again, the thyroid does affect the muscles as well. So it's also very good to strength train if you've got hypothyroidism, because once again, the thyroid responds very well. Anything that boosts the metabolism, walking, light cardio, and strength training, the thyroid responds very well because it boosts the metabolism. Okay, so in order to maintain muscle and even build a little muscle with hypothyroidism, you do have to keep your proteins. You do have to keep them. And so I have noticed that as long as I'm eating a good balance of proteins, I do pretty decent. Yeah, in a lot of cases, even professional dieters say, cut the carbs out. That's the reason why there's the keto diet and other diets like that. And people cuts carbs out or goes to an alternative carb that doesn't spike the blood sugar. But anyway, the one fact about the thyroid is because it does regulate the energy, where it regulates the metabolism. With hypothyroidism, having low metabolism or sluggish, as I said, the body is seeking that energy, and carbs is an energy. So for me, and this is what I've discovered, it hasn't got anything to do with old habit, but perhaps my old habit has everything to do with what I have experienced. If I go strictly with the slow carb of like the dark leafy greens and my proteins, I end up with days where I'm extra lethargic and I cannot hardly get myself to go. I can't get myself to even move about. Now, as I said, currently, as far as they know, they've got me up to date with my meds. My thyroid is running normal, but it still has that shortage that it's needing to continue a normal function, even though they've got it regulated with my supplement. So on occasion, has it got anything to do with cravings, bad habits, old habits, gluttony, or anything of that? Sometimes I need a fast carb. A fast carb is anything that's got a sugar, even fruit. So sometimes all I need is a little bit of soda, or sometimes I need candy, or sometimes some chips. Anything that has got that sugar or starch that's a fast carb, that's an instant energy, without like doing an energy drink, because energy drink doesn't do it. It can't be caffeine, not for me. It has to be a fast carb. And some days I'm absolutely fine, I don't need it. All I'm needing is my protein and slow carbs, which is the fibrous foods. So that's how it goes for me. And I'm not saying it's like that for everybody with hypothyroidism, but I know how it is for me. Like I said, it isn't even a craving. It isn't something that I taste on my tongue. It's almost similar to having a real hunger in your gut when I'm needing a faster carb. It's almost similar to that. It isn't something I taste on my tongue, like how a craving or an old habit would be. So, simply putting, it kind of makes it hard for me to get things just right because of how my thyroid functions. I'm very grateful that I do take a supplement, because without it, it was even harder for me to get started. It used to be, before I even knew that I had hypothyroidism, either I could exercise, but I screwed up with eating, or I would go on ahead and do very well with eating, but couldn't drive myself to exercise. Now, I'm able to concentrate on both, which is great. That's another thing. If your thyroid's not functioning right, it also screws with concentration. Hypothyroidism is almost like you are trying to go back upstream without a paddle. It's a battle. If you don't get everything just right, if you don't keep regular at it, it's just, sometimes you have great success and you drop the rate, and other times you end up coming to a standstill. And you've got to pay close attention to how much energy you use up in the day, along with keeping up with how much protein and your fast carbs and slow carbs you're putting in, and just trying to keep that balance, because sometimes mentally you think, I can't have that, and your body's saying, I need it right now. Kind of like a good way of putting this to a more understanding. With hypothyroidism, at least in my case, the days that I hunger for the faster carbs is similar to somebody whose insulin is running low, and they need that injection to pick it back up. Now, I'm not saying that I would ever go into a coma if I don't have a fast carb, but it's the same a similar comparison. And just a small picture, if you will. I think if I had a normal thyroid that wasn't having to be regulated by a supplement, that I would have more success in losing the weight. I really do. I feel that. I believe that. Because I would feel up to walking every single day, really using up the energy, and just stay active. But I still do have days when I have to force myself to even do just a little bit. I still have those days. But the good thing is, it's been a very long time since I've literally had to crash on a couch for lack of having any energy, period. So with all that being said, yeah, it does play a large role toward weight loss, where some people are able to lose weight so much easier. I've got my bad months and my awesome months. And it does really does put a stick in that cog. Really does. And something I always have to fight through. But if you're more curious about the functions of the thyroid and the chemicals involved in it for it regulating properly, and even the cons of having hypo, go on ahead and Google it. And you can also ask what's the best way to lose weight with it and everything. And there are various mentions. Like one article read, intermittent fasting is awesome with hypothyroidism. Another article read that it can backfire against you. Well, I have discovered from past and even now, because the thyroid regulates digestion, it's very good not to overeat. That is like one of the worst things that you can do if you've got a sluggish thyroid, because you're not allowing your body the chance to digest what you've ate and utilize the energy that comes from that food. That's the reason, another reason why that I really like intermittent fasting. And like, there is a point that intermittent fasting can backfire on you, and that's why it's not recommended to like go so many hours or so many days every single time. But it is a good energy boost for people with a normal thyroid. For me, it would cause me more problems than not. So, for being diabetic, consult your doctor about intermittent fasting and what may or may not work right for you. For me, praise God, I am not diabetic. I'm so grateful for that. But, as I was saying, because the thyroid works on the digestion, regulates digestion, do not overeat. You want to have time. You want to give your body time to digest the foods. What normally takes a person 4 hours with hypothyroidism can even take 6 or longer to digest. And also, because you're not expanding as much, you're not spending as much energy as you would with a normal thyroid. You've got all that resting in your body while trying to digest the food, and it's just laying around. And as you're not using it, it's being stored as energy for later, because once again your body's in survival mode. So the best thing to do with hypothyroidism, to really kind of, at least, might not be the main thing for losing weight, but it helps tremendously, is to do intermittent fasting. Go as long as you can without eating, as long as you can, and go on ahead and exercise while you're not eating. While you're fasting, go on ahead and exercise. That way you're forcing your body to burn that fat storage, because as soon as you put food in your body's going to automatically start using the energy from the food, and that profits nothing. So just give your body time, and after you eat, wait until you're hungry again. Sometimes you will find that you don't need anything to eat for hours, 6 hours, maybe even 8 hours. There's been times that I got hungry after 5 hours. I got hungry after 6 hours. I think one time even after 7 hours. But I gave myself time to register if I was hungry or not. And so, it's all according to what you eat. If you want to really go a long period of time in between eating, it is good for you to go on ahead and have your proteins and your fibrous slow carb, like dark greens or beans or, anything of the source. And because where proteins and slow carbs are slower for digestion, it gives you a longer time to go without eating, and it works just as well with the thyroid, unless your body is immediately needing that fast carb because it's not drawing enough energy out of what you ate. Has almost a catch-22, almost. But so yeah, do not overeat with a sluggish thyroid. Do not. Because your body is not able to use up all the energy. It's not. Just where it's slow. It's not able to burn it all up. Be very cautious and thoughtful of your input. That way, it's not such a burden. Sometimes I get a little mindless when I eat, and I think that's my bigger downfall. So, yeah, that on the whole part is why the thyroid can pose the difference in weight loss. And having hypothyroidism really is a push to shove. It's a battle. It's a battle. I hope that helped you. If any one of you are struggling to lose weight and you haven't had a thyroid test yet, ask to have one and see if maybe what's slowing your progress down is your thyroid. That way you can get supplements, get your thyroid more regulated, and then you can work more and easily toward your weight loss. Anyway, guys, you all are so great, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you so, so much. And as I said, I do hope that this video is helpful to you. As I said, if you've got any questions, it's easy to Google. Go on ahead, look up your questions about the thyroid, about the T4, the T3, functionality and all that. Look it up. And talk with your doctor, your practitioner, about if it's possible that you might be suffering from some sort of a thyroidism. And see what can be done to help you if you're feeling sluggish all the time and whatnot. Go on ahead and check your iron too while you're at it, because sometimes the symptoms is similar to low iron as it is hypothyroidism. So have both checked. Anyway, I appreciate you. I really do. I'll see you on the next video. You all have a great day.